there, and welcome to part 2 of creating a closer connection with your child. And we are looking at the value of godly culture in the family. So just, is it on? Yes, it's on. So we're just carrying on with part 2 today. Because the culture instilled in a family greatly impacts every sphere of every family member's life and plays a crucial role in raising stronger, more resilient children while forging lasting bonds between parents and children. So let's look at some of the main points. First, shared values and beliefs. Instilling a strong culture in the family involves defining and embracing shared values and beliefs. This provides a moral compass for children, guiding their decisions and behaviors in various life situations. The clearer you are about which values you choose to uphold, the easier it becomes to make decisions on the go, because that's when big questions are often asked, right? When Billy or Bonnie knows mom is rushing through something or very busy, so I'll just shove it into the mix quickly, and then, or when dad is busy on a work or whatever, I'll just gesture that I want to go and he must just give me the thumbs up without paying too much attention in that moment, and that's how I'm going to get my way. We know that. Whereas, if the rules and beliefs and values have been clearly identified and communicated, you won't run into trouble on the days that you are not as on top of everything as you would like to be. Through the family culture, parents can teach children about compassion, empathy, integrity, and other important values. And these lessons shape children's characters and guide their interactions with others. That is why it's so important to establish this early on. Identity and belonging. Family culture creates a sense of identity and belonging for children. When children understand their family's values and heritage, they develop a stronger sense of self and purpose. People used to look at me funny if I took the time to explain to my children at length why certain things are us or not us. I really needed them to understand that if I say no, we don't do that, they needed to know why. Also, nothing irritated me more than when I used to ask my mom, "But why?" And she said, "Because I'm your mother and you will do what I tell you." I needed to understand, so whether my kids need to understand or not, I will make sure they know anyway, because it does establish a greater sense of identity when you explain the why. Then they are also less likely to fall for any new thing that comes their way out there as they grow older, because you've already explained the determining factors before they were even presented. Third, emotional resilience. A consistent family culture provides emotional stability. Children raised in a loving and supportive environment are better equipped to handle challenges, setbacks, and stresses in their lives. Knowing that their emotions matter and that they are seen and heard gives them the assurance they need that their presence, experience, and choices matter. There's a line, though, where a tantrum just needs to be called out for what it is. But the more you are willing to provide emotional support, the more likely they are to not have to go there to get your attention. Fourth, communication skills. An open and respectful communication culture within the family helps children develop effective communication skills. This prepares them to express themselves confidently in all areas of life. I learned to talk about everything, I kid you not, and from the results that I'm enjoying, I have no intention of stopping. The key is what you communicate and how you communicate it. So, for example, when my son was little and I saw boys in his school do reckless and irresponsible things, I would engage in conversation with him about what those kids are doing and why it's so dangerous. And sometimes he would ask me, why am I telling him this? Because he would never do something that's stupid. Then I would just assure him that I know that he is smarter than that, and therefore I'm not worried about him, but concerned for them. And then I would take him, or I'd take the conversation even further by suggesting what he could do if they tried to drag him into those activities, or how he could help them make wiser choices. So on a school run, for example, just in the time that it took to get from school to home, I was able to strengthen communication skills, assess his thinking, teach valuable lessons, commend him for not exploring problematic actions, and teach him what to do in the event that anyone would ever try and rope him in. You see, so it helps him deal with questionable actions beforehand. So before he was old enough to even consider those things. You build in one trip from school all of that. Fifth, conflict resolution. A family culture that emphasizes healthy conflict resolution teaches children how to manage disagreements, negotiate, and find common ground. These skills benefit them in relationships outside the family. Talking with mutual respect and clear outcome in mind. Don't accuse or assume or stoop to nasty behavior, as calmly and clearly as possible. 6. Academic success. A culture that values education and learning motivates children to excel academically. Parents who are engaged in their children's education foster a positive attitude toward learning. For many parents, the apparent lack of aspirations together with the increase in children's stress levels are very real concerns. Children are idolizing people who do not represent family values at all. Every second social media message is about getting rich quickly by simply being this or doing that. The whole world is not going to come to a standstill to view your breakfast, and therefore screen time is through the roof. Yet I found this study very interesting, which was shared by Elizabeth, who's one of my favorite story coaches. In a study that was done in 2012, found that reading for as little as 6 minutes can reduce stress levels by 60%, slow your heartbeat, ease muscle tension, and alter your state of mind. It's amazing, 6 minutes. In fact, reading reduces stress 68 times more than listening to music, 100 times more than drinking a cup of tea, 300% more than going for a walk, and 600% more than playing a video game. Kids, listen up. I wish I knew the importance of developing a love for reading in my son, because I loved reading when I was little, so no one ever had to encourage me. Yet my son not so much, and so I just left it. So, okay, that's not for him. But now in hindsight, I know I could have done so much more, which would have benefited him immensely. So help your children discover the value of books. It really is a game changer. Then 7, social skills. Family interactions model social skills that children carry into their interactions with peers and society. Respect, courtesy, and consideration are mostly learned at home. The environment has changed so much that common courtesy, which used to be the norm, has been replaced with entitlement, arrogance, and selfishness, to the point that I really find it hard to go to the store sometimes. The attitudes you encounter can be heartbreaking nowadays. We are so grateful to see even the tiniest gesture of goodwill, that when I see someone doing something nice for someone else, I feel like I could just go over and hug them. And that might not always be a bad idea. Children need to learn to hold a conversation. Tell them not to interrupt when being spoken to. Greet people properly. Respect each other enough to listen to one another. And it works both ways. Table manners, please and thank you. Actually being aware of where you might be able to assist others. Helping the old lady with her cart at the store, or holding the door for someone older than themselves. Really, let's just get back to good manners. Then, number 8, respect for diversity. A family culture that appreciates diversity prepares children to interact positively in a multicultural world. Creating a home environment where friends can gather as they feel accepted and appreciated for their differences emphasizes the love of Christ to all. under the umbrella of righteousness, peace, and joy. Understanding that we were created by the same God and are loved for our uniqueness, in whom we were made to be and not deceived into being by the world, teaches our children to embrace their own authenticity and steadfast identity. 9. Responsibility and a work ethic. Family culture can emphasize responsibility and a strong work ethic, helping children understand the importance of commitment and diligence in all aspects of life. Do your best, finish what you start, short and simple. With all the distractions that are surrounded by these days, that can be a tall order for most people. Number 10, faith. As believers, faith forms a crucial part of the family culture, as it provides a foundation for true identity, raising godly children, helping them understand who God made them to be, what their purpose is, what their hope is rooted in, and what their moral compass should be. Teach them one verse of the Bible a day. When I started doing that with my son, I didn't just stick to Proverbs. I had a whole box of verses. On the way to school, he would pull one out and we would recite it on the way to school. Wouldn't you know it? Without fail, every evening when we talked about that day and whatever issues came up that day, we would reflect on the morning's verse and be amazed at how true that verse was for the challenges of that day. God's faithfulness is unparalleled. So every time you can make that a greater reality in your children's lives, your family foundation is strengthened exponentially. Number 11, parent-child bond. A strong family culture encourages quality time together. Shared activities, traditions, and special treats of togetherness foster a deep bond between parents and children that lasts into adulthood. I'm always amazed at what stood out for my children during certain periods or holiday seasons. Usually the moments of deep impact are not the ones that I expected. It taught me never to assume when it comes to favorites or preferences. They want you to ask and listen. Then resilience to peer pressure. When children are raised with a clear sense of identity and values, they are better equipped to resist negative peer pressure and make choices aligned with their principles. It's even more important to explain why they should think that something is necessary and when not. I used to over-explain this stuff, but the key is to make it sound like you are just advising them regarding that situation, but addressing it from a objective point of view as well. Talk about everything. They need to engage in what type of behavior is more suitable, what is appropriate, why this works, and what the consequences are. Because that way the child is not offended that you necessarily expected something bad from them, but they actually learn what the realities are and what the results of those realities are. It makes them think, and believe me, it works. Okay, I'm just bringing the slide up here so you don't get confused by all the different points, because there are a few. The second last one is preparation for adulthood. A well-defined family culture equips children with life skills, independence and self-confidence, easing them in their transition into adulthood. The more stable and secure the environment, the less likely they are to go and find their fixes elsewhere. Children who are desperate for understanding and acceptance are likely to go look for it outside of their home environment. The more acknowledged and valued you feel in a safe space, the more they are inclined to want to build onto that into adulthood. And that is also the kind of environment that they're most likely to go and build into their homes for their children. And then the last one is legacy building. A strong family culture creates a lasting legacy that can be passed down through generations, fostering a sense of continuity and family pride. A good example of this is the value that my father had in our lives and what he built into my nephews' lives. My dad was a remarkable man with more grace, patience, and love than any of us. And my brother's sons saw this, and because my father had such an appreciation for them, who do you think they wanted to follow into adulthood as an example of all the love and care that they received from him? They are literally both living examples of all my dad demonstrated to them. When my father passed away 2 years ago, we were all devastated, and I cannot begin to express the joy of watching this 30-year-old and this 28-year-old respectively doing all the wonderful little things that my dad used to do, like opening the car doors for ladies, checking if I needed anything the whole time that I spent with them, teaching my son little things that my dad taught them. And to this day, they still open the car doors for their girlfriends. I mean, come on, do you see any young men doing that today? I'm so grateful. I know that my dad is seeing this. I'm so grateful for all he imparted to each of us, because every single one of us will carry on whatever we can that he built into us, just out of extreme appreciation and gratitude for what he did for us. So in essence, a strong family culture influences virtually every aspect of family members' lives. By providing a foundation of values, love, and support, parents create an environment where children thrive emotionally, socially, academically, and morally. This culture not only shapes resilient individuals, but also fosters enduring connections between parents and children, and even their grandchildren. So I want to encourage you, try and build as many of these into your home environment and see what a difference it makes in your lives every day. In the next video, in part 3, we will be talking about family connection and belonging, and how establishing this foundation of true connection will actually enable each of you to stand firm and be immovable, endure and excel. Because true connection in human relationships goes beyond superficial interactions, and it involves deep emotional understanding, empathy, vulnerability and mutual respect. So we will be looking at that in part 3. So stay tuned.